I found my husband's photo album, and now I'm tempted to cheat on him. My husband Ismail and I met because of a murder during our freshman year of college. His dorm had been blocked by the police because a guy we both knew had been found stabbed 42 times in his bed. The killer had taken his eyes, mouth, and nose. The strangest thing was that no one in that crowded dorm heard him scream. I was there for him when the police announced they were trying to find the killer, but had no leads. He struck again in a few nearby towns with the same modus operandi, and then again in another town. The press started calling him the college butcher. Ismail began spending more time in my room after that. It was perfect, and I should have been smarter, wiser. But I was young, stupid, and deeply in love. We got married a few years after college, after I got a job as a software developer and he got a job as a teacher at the local high school. We bought a house in a quiet, safe neighborhood, in a quiet, safe town. And for a while, everything seemed so good. For 10 whole years, everything was good. Until 3 weeks ago, when I decided to clean out the attic because I could swear I heard something skittering up there when I was getting ready to leave in the morning. Thinking it was mice or something, I told Ismail in the kitchen that night, while he was adding the finishing touches to the bolognese and I was pouring us a couple of glasses of wine. "I think there's something in our attic," I said casually as I handed him the glass of wine. "I'm going to go clear it out and see if it's a rat or something." When he said nothing, I looked at his face. It was completely pale, and he was staring at me with something I couldn't place in his eyes. It was something else. "Don't go up there. I'll deal with it. I really think it's something small, and I've been wanting to clean up that place for a while. Let me handle it." He stared at me then, and a sort of involuntary shudder went up my spine. "Jack, do not go up there." I nodded slowly, confused. We respected and loved each other, and I didn't want to hurt him in any way. And given how stressed he was, I knew I had to listen to him. But he might as well have dangled a chocolate chip cookie in front of my face and told me never to touch it. So I waited until he left for work one morning and went up there. The attic was dark, but we had a light in the middle of the room. Regardless, I had my phone's flashlight to rely on. Since ours was an older house, we had actual stairs leading up to the attic instead of a ladder. And when I walked to the end of the room, I saw a light. I went into the hallway and opened the door that led to the attic. I swore I heard a creak at the top of the stairs, the kind of creak only a foot can make when it lands on a faulty floorboard. The hair at the back of my neck stood up as though a cold draft had blown into the hall. I squinted into the darkness at the top of the stairs and softly asked, "Hello?" As the moments passed, rationality caught up with me. How stupid was I to think there was something up there? Annoyed at myself, I climbed up, grabbed my phone, and turned on the flashlight. And with more confidence than I truly possessed, I walked up the stairs, listening to each stair creak as I did. The attic was creepier than I remembered. It was actually a space I had planned to convert into a game room of sorts, but Ismail had talked me out of it. And honestly, over the years, I had forgotten how big it was. It was your average attic in many ways. Dusty wooden floors, a small window at the end of the room overlooking the neighborhood. But it was spacious. Sure, it held all our old junk. But even so, the boxes and a few pieces of old furniture took up so little space at the far end of the room. I remember thinking how nice skylights would be in the sloping ceiling. Why had Ismail, who was so organized and wanted all the rooms in the house to be used, been so keen to leave this space as it was? A slight unease began to creep around the corners of my mind. As if on autopilot, I walked to the end of the attic, where the 5 boxes containing Ismail's things were lying. Part of me was screaming that this was a massive invasion of his privacy, but I didn't care at that point. I wanted to see what was in those boxes that was making my husband act so strangely about this particular room. I sat cross-legged on the dusty floor and pulled the first box toward me, opening it up. The first box contained just some old clothes he had kept for sentimental value. When I reached the third box, it was more of the same old clothes kept for sentimental value. When I reached the 6th box, something in me hesitated. I think a part of me knew that my life was about to change after I opened this box.
There's a part 2 by pressing share and more.